She's very much like when the collar goes on, she's like all business.
Just shifts, yeah.
Yeah. She hasn't been around the kids in a couple months.
Sure.
So I don't know how that's going. I mean, I don't know how it would be.
How to test it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as like other dogs and things go, when the collar's on, she's like laser focused.
Good.
Yeah.
So for today, man, it's just having a dog so
I imagine it gets
constant for yes. Is how to go about socializing our kids.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. So then that leaves us a couple more in person. So the way I operate is I focus on the main things that you're going to need, right? So we have the heel, that's for the reactivity stuff. It's also just to get her accustomed to how the e-collar operates. Place commands for durational current control if there's going to be a lot of kids. And that's more so just like, she's got her place, we tell the kids to respect her space, but then there's also like if you want to push her on the front of how she's going to do with children. Yeah. And then after that, it's really simple. It's a very simple exercise, it's just a matter of doing it. Right. Which is the hard part for a lot of people, because people either one, like I have another client, same problem, and all the people that she knows that have kids already just don't want anything to do with her dog.
She's not that bad. I've talked to my sister-in-law who has the two little ones that she's around the most. And my sister-in-law was like, yeah, let us know when we need to come. Sure. I mean, they're not in town right now, but they live in Chicago, and the girls, her two daughters are around dogs all the time. It's just Luna who gets a little like, and she's never bit them, so it's okay so far. You know what I mean? We're not at the point where like, she's not allowed around them. Okay. I just get very nervous because I feel like she's like, the next time she might bite them. Sure. Because she'll snap at them and growl. Sure. And things when I'm there, because she's so protective of me. Correct. My husband, she's fine.
Correct. Okay. And then with your husband, like she's loose completely, like just whatever?
Well, over this summer, we started not letting her be loose ever because I was so nervous about it. And I also we didn't think that it was helping when, when I'm not there, she's allowed to do whatever she wants. And as soon as I'm there, she's on a leash, held in the corner, away from, So we kind of got to where now she's always on a leash around them. Okay. But when Mike's if I'm not there, she's fine. I mean, she's not like, she doesn't love kids like some dogs do. Sure. But she's pretty mild. She'll go lay down in the other room, she'll sit by Mike, she's okay with them petting her. And then as soon as I walk in, it's like a light switch. Yeah, okay.
The tricky part is, so the socialization exercise is one thing, right? But then there's a component of you and Luna. Yeah. Okay. And the way, it can work a number of different ways just from what you've done so far, because she's not been around kids since you started.
No, I don't think so. Okay.
And with her discomfort with children, like let's say you walk past the playground, like would you see discomfort there, or is it mostly like if she's in a contact with them?
More so when she's like in a context with them. It's just a me in general. Like if we're walking past kids and a kid goes to like
touch her,
like on the street, like the kid shouldn't be doing. Sure. She definitely is a little like, I'm always super nervous and like pull her away and like don't have her near them. But like when we first got her, the first I would say 3 years, she didn't mind kids at all. And then I don't know if it's just because with my nieces I'm more holding them and taking care of them and that. I'm not sure. So it's definitely more targeted as when she's like around, like in a room with kids. Kids are free, but I would not, like if there was like a class of kids walking past me, I wouldn't just like walk by, no worries with her,
Sure. Okay. So one thing is like, so you said like with the reactivity, she's got the collar on, she's just no problem, right? Yeah. It's potentially or can potentially be the same with children. Right. You're going to have more of what I would call a window. Yeah. Where she'd be more tolerant, and then until this happens. Yeah. Right? And that's its own thing. Right. Because I guess some dogs are, as soon as they see a kid, it's just they're being reactive or whatever.
No, she's not that bad.
Okay. So we'll cover the exercise now. The biggest factor here, and I think we talked about, right, muscle conditioning.
Yeah.
How is that going?
Not well.
Okay. What's going on with the muzzle?
We just like can't even get it on her, and like she's so like intolerant of it, and we're so like hate putting it on her. I mean, it's an us thing. We need to just like do it.
Because the hardest thing you're going to come across is like she's a small dog, which can like not say be overlooked, but
it's forgiven much more than if she was a big dog.
Right.
For
and so like let's say your friend's like sure, like we've not seen her actually like try to bite a kid, right? And then we're really pushing, like they're going to be touching her. They're going to be in her striking space. That's where the problem's going to happen. Is if you try to push it without it and then something happens, now you're just completely back to square one. Right. Now you're like, I don't even want to do this. I've had it happen. That's why I've had that experience where someone didn't like the muzzle, and well, let's just see what happens. And so
I don't want to do that. I mean, it's a me thing. It's me getting over it. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I know it's for the best.
And the biggest thing here though is dogs not liking muzzles. Super common. They're not meant to have things in their face. Right. They're not meant to be muzzled. Right. That's something that we've created. Is now you've lost 4-5 weeks of conditioning time. Right. Because muzzle conditioning can take months. Okay. Now I can force condition a muzzle, and I can get it done within an hour. It's very ugly.
I don't.
A lot of people. I've done it because like sometimes I show up and they're like, we didn't train our dog. And I'm like, all right, well I'm here, so if either you waste $100 or something or I get this done. But it's very ugly. The dog's bucking around. They're resisting. They tend to rip off their dew claws. They scratch up their face.
I don't want to do that.
So,
is it like how do you just like put it on them and that's that, or do you put it on like loosely? Like how do you just start doing it with them?
So, if I'm doing it through force conditioning,
no, like me at home.
Through food.
Just give them treats or put it on.
What I do is I take a Ziploc, put it inside the muzzle, flip it right so that you have something holding food, and I personally just feed their meals through the muzzle. People tend to do treats. The reason why I do food is because they need it. They don't need treats. And dogs are very good about, they know what they need to survive. It's instinctual. So,
it's the one thing to it does seem pretty tight, like not like she can easily eat in it. And the two sizes, the big one is like, comes up almost like, to her eyes.
Sure.
You have two sizes.
What sizes was she?
I don't know if it was the smallest one in the next size up or the second smallest and the size up from there.
Okay, give me a second. The other way to do it is through your hand. But since it's got, because you got the basketball style, correct? Because it has the holes, it's just going to fall through. So we'll take a look at it. That's what we've done when we had the muzzle conditioned dogs. Because here, like if we have a dog that we're training, we take the time because that's what we're paid for. But if I show up and it's just like, I got to get it done. So the force conditioning is with the e-collar. And I just start walking with the dog, they start bucking around. And every time they fight the collar, I just remote them. But we'll be 127 a lot of times. Because they're just really trying to fight the muzzle. So it looks ugly, but it is effective. And it's not to say that even if you do muzzle conditioning, that it's going to be perfect. Because some dogs, even though they're conditioned, when you put them, when you put them in
this one and this one. So they got the whatever 1 and 2.
So let's see here. No. So this one looks too small. This one looks like the bridge of her nose is too long. So, and the tube, this may be too big. Let's take a look. Go ahead and just pop this. I just want to see how it fits around her muzzle there.
It's like up in her eyes.
Is that the big one? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the little one.
And this one's like really, you know what I mean? Like you can't.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So that's actually probably her size.
Okay.
The other one you can actually, this one can actually work as well. The way I would do it is, so here this bottom strap is meant for a flat collar. So the flat collar goes through here and that secures this part. Then you have the part that
so
goes.
you put like her actual this collar through it.
Correct.
Okay.
So that secures that bottom part. That's why I like this brand because it's very secure. And what I would do is just have it hanging lower. So it's actually just hanging more so like this than it is straight across her face.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So then, because this is going to be secure in the bottom, and then you just adjust it. So try again.
So just like try and.
Yeah.
Like put her collar through it.
So yeah, because the flat collar would actually help keep it more so down.
Okay.
So she'd have more space to open her mouth.
Yeah.
It's technically, as you can see, fairly big. So you have either as an option.
Yeah, we have both of them.
Yeah. But technically the smaller one, the size one, is the one that's the correct fit for her.
Okay. Should we worry, like it seemed like she couldn't even open her mouth to eat her food or get a treat or kind of, you know, get her accustomed to it.
In the beginning, what I would do is just put like a bag in there, and she's probably gonna be eating like this.
Okay.
Okay. So she, what I do is I remove all treats, no biscuits, none of that stuff. It's only gonna be food. Okay. So she's getting, they're in the training process because I want to speed this up as fast as we can. Is little Ziploc, whatever, you press it down. How much does she eat a day?
It's like a cup and a third total.
Cup and a third, okay.
Yeah, 2/3 and 1/3 a day.
And how many times does she eat a day?
Just twice.
Just twice? So what I would do is, the best way to go about it is more reps.
Okay.
Okay, so if she gets a cup and a third, then I would do 4 third cups.
Okay.
So she's gonna get fed 4 times a day.
Okay.
Put a third of a cup in here.
And just like hold it for her to get out, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if she goes and goes, nope, not gonna do it, I put it away, she doesn't eat. Okay?
Okay.
I try again 4 hours later, her next meal time, third of a cup. I don't put 2/3 to compensate to the third.
Okay.
I present it. She doesn't need it, put it away. 4 hours later, put it down, third cup. Keep doing that, okay? Eventually, it might be 3 to 5 days if she really dislikes the muzzle before she's gonna eat. But it's against instinct for a dog to starve themselves to death, okay? So eventually she's like, I'm not getting treats, I'm not getting biscuits, I'm not getting food. The only time I see is when this comes out. Finally, when she starts to cave, third of a cup, she eats. I don't put more. Put it away. Next meal, third of a cup. She's eating. Good. You put it away, right? So now she's learning, I love this thing.
Yeah.
Because that's when the only time I see food now.
Right.
Now, I do add another rule, is some dogs will learn, I'm going to take a little bit
And walk away and eat
over here. So if they put their mouth in and they take food and they eat out or move away from the muzzle, I put it away.
Okay.
Okay. So then she comes back going, hey, where'd it go? Disappeared.
Yeah.
So the next time, she does it again, she walks away, disappears. So then she thinks, oh wow, whenever I see food, now it's only in the muzzle, and if I turn away from it, it disappears. Okay. So then she's gonna want to keep her face in the muzzle. So then, maybe I get 3 to 5 days of her just eating straight from the muzzle, again, 4 times a day, third of a cup, third of a cup, third of a cup. And at that point, once you start, you should start to see her like,
like liking the thing,
yes, okay. And then I go to, okay, cool, you eat from the muzzle, and then I leave it on for a little bit, okay? And then I take it off, like 5-10 minutes, whatever. In the beginning, she might pause a bit.
Yeah.
You don't want to coo at her. You don't want to baby her.
Ignore her.
Just ignore it, right? And then 10 minutes later, I can remove it. The other way to help expedite this is just walking her with it. The more you expose her to this, the faster the dogs get over it, okay? Everybody feels bad about the muzzle, okay? So once I see the dog is capable of keeping this on for a bit, and this is using the conditioning, then I start to incorporate it, like when we go on walks and stuff. It just becomes another thing the dog wears, okay? And then once she's like, yeah, she wears it for walks, no problem, she's good. She sees it, we put it on her, no problem. Then you can start weaning off the food and just applying it. Like I still apply it on the walks until we're in the, because we have to start the process of exposing her to kids and everything.
Yeah.
Right? Is once that's all then being worked on, then she doesn't need constant exposure to it because you're going to be using it for other things. Okay. Having her also wear it outside of moments of like with the kids and stuff helps her to also to not pick up on a pattern.
Right.
Because if you only put this on her when she's going to be around kids, she's going to learn like, oh shit, Mother's coming out.
Right.
There must be kids today. Okay. So it's nothing bad. I mean, it just helps keep everybody more relaxed. I've been bit. I've had people be bit. My job is, of course, to prevent that from happening. I don't want kids to be bit either. And the only way to get over that, unfortunately, is through putting her in that context where she's going to be around children. Okay. So I would, starting today, no treats, no biscuits, no antlers, no bones, nothing that she can ingest. Only kibble, and only kibble through here 4 times a day, 1/3 of a cup. Okay. And that should help. It's going to be tough because the next part is people don't like that the dog's not eating. I've been doing this for a really long time, so I know all the things that people have problems with. But that just keeps we can't move forward further if we don't have anything to prevent her from attempting. Because the other thing is, she has to technically attempt if it's there, so that we can correct it and then keep pushing in order to get her over that hump. Okay. Otherwise, everything that we've done so far is kind of like a Band-Aid effect, right? Where she's like, okay, Luna's over here, kids are over here, and we're not going to have any problems because you're just giving space, which is an answer, but it doesn't. It's not perfect. It's not. It doesn't address the core issue. The other thing is we could pressure with the kids and everything with the exercise, and ultimately remember, like, I can't make her like them. She may not like kids in general, or just when they're around you for whatever reason. And when we do those exercises, I do use very high value things. I use cheese, bologna, turkey, sausage, chicken, very high value things for the children to really just motivate her, like, oh, okay, like this isn't so bad. Okay. Questions on that?
Nope.
Alrighty, so I'll go over the exercises with you.
Okay.
What's the age range that she kind of like doesn't?
Well, I think it's the younger they are, the more she doesn't like them, or like that toddler age she doesn't. Because my nephews are teenagers, and when we got her, they were kind of like 9, 10, 11 that age, and she was okay with them. But our nieces here are 1 and 2.5. So she seems to dislike most when I am like holding them, picking them up, like that kind of age. If they're just another like smaller person in the room, she doesn't care as much.
Gotcha.
So.
And adults and everything, she's fine?
Yeah. Men, she gets a little hit or miss every once in a while, but for the most part, she's okay.
Okay. When she's had issues with men, do you ever notice anything about their energy? Loud, big, tall?
Definitely a deeper voice.
Okay.
In the beginning, tall, but Mike's so tall that I think that's kind of like,
she got used to it.
She doesn't really care about it anymore.
Sure.
But my nephews, anyone's like, if my nephews were like roughhousing or like wrestling, like she does not like that. But not really. It's not like other dogs where it's like, this type of, she doesn't seem to really react like a larger guy or smaller guy or whatever doesn't have as much of an effect on her anymore. A deeper voice sometimes I think does.
Okay.
Or like big sudden movements, but that's not like male specific.
Gotcha. When you said like when your nephews are roughhousing and stuff, was she growling?
She'll growl and she'll kind of like jump in and it almost seems like she wants to like break it up.
Stop, yeah. She doesn't want the energy.
Yes, exactly, the energy. When the energy gets too like chaotic, she does not like it.
Okay. So one thing that you could do is just expose her to those contacts, but you're not going to have the touching, you're not going to be ready for the touching phase. Okay, but you can still make, if you have the opportunity, some kind of progress to know where she's at mentally. Is like for instance, with the other client that I have, we're working on the same issue. She lives over in Lakeview, and she's by Oz Park.
Okay.
So Oz Park has that big old playground with the kids running around and stuff. So, because, you know, she's like, well, my family won't help me, so what can I do?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, go to a park with kids. I'm
Okay.
like, Oz Park's right there, and that park's always got lots of kids running around screaming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, just exposing her to the energy. You know, you're not going to do any touch stuff. But just seeing like, how does, because before she said that she'd be like staring, like kind of pulling and like just like not liking it. And I was like, well, if you take her there now and you sit down and she's at your feet and she does nothing, that tells you she's not as concerned about it anymore, which is good.
Yeah.
Because now we have a bigger window.
Yeah.
You know, if the dog is still like, I don't like these kids running around
She does seem like she's gotten used to the collar more and more doing the place. I have noticed just even at home, she's like less reactive to people walking around outside. A little bit like, she'll still try and like jump up and bark at like trucks going by, but she's much quicker to be like, get down, she jumps right off. As opposed to before, you had to like be like this far from her before she jumped off.
Gotcha.
So I think she is getting a little bit less reactive in general, but I haven't been around the kid context.
Yeah. So, you know, whether there's a park nearby, and it's just like walking around, stopping, if there's a bench, just sitting down.
Right.
You know, they approach, oh no, we're just hanging out.
Right.
To see where's her window now.
Yeah.
And if she's like this, just laying down and relaxed, and the kids are playing in front of her, and you're like, this is typically something she would be growling at, then you've made progress there.
Sure.
Okay, so then it's like, okay, cool. And then just exposure when you can. It's not the same to like obviously the touching,
right?
But it's just getting used to the energy. So like my aunt has 6 or 7 kids, and most of them are like within a 5 to 7 year gap. Okay, because you had a couple of twins, so it's a lot of kids. You know, so like 7 to 12. You know, and I lived alone. Yeah. So I'm used to quiet. Yeah. Right. So then when I would go over, I would get annoyed very quickly. But I'm not used to having 6, 7 kids running around. Right. It's the same thing for dogs. Like my dogs actually don't. Not that they don't like kids, but they don't like the energy. Yeah. They've not been exposed to it. They're used to just life with me, and my brother, and it's quiet.
Yeah. It's probably more that. Yeah. The like high energy.
Yes. So just getting her used to the just exposing her, and if she does something, you just correct it. We don't expect her to do much right there. It's just like getting her used to the energy. Yeah. And that'll at least get you some progress. So by the time you're ready for the touch stuff, it's not just like, oh crap, we're jumping straight to this. She's already been like coexisting with them. Right. Okay. Questions on that?
No, this one.
Alrighty. So here, with this exercise. It's very controlled, it's very structured. It allows you to press her comfort zones, and then if she were to attempt something, you have full control. Okay? So if I handle it right now, you think she'll be okay? Yeah. She's fighting me. She's okay. All right. So, very sweet. Oh. Yeah, girl. Alright, so what we would do here is when we work with children, I like to have the dog in a sitting position. I'd have my leash here, okay, and I have my arm here. Okay. She'd of course be muzzled. The reason why I do this is, one, if she tries to lunge sideways, this is going to counter her. Okay. The other thing is, and I put this other arm helps to body block in case, like if it was a bigger dog, usually hold like this, and I can turn my elbow in, and it blocks.
So they're like going third towards you as opposed to.
Correct. Okay. So here, this limits her going this way, and this also limits her. And if I need to, I can just bring her in. Right. Now when we do this, the main thing is to always be relaxed. Okay.
That's smart.
So most people are sitting there really tense. Right. Like, squeezing the dog, and that squeezing actually creates tension. Yeah. Okay. So here I'm nice and relaxed, and when the child approaches, you know, they step about 3 to 4 feet back, and we start to assess how does Luna feel about this, right? Maybe she starts to grumble, give a little tap, okay, and then see what happens, and maybe she kind of shifts and like just relaxes. Then the child comes around, and they sit beside her. Like I'm doing here, okay? And when they start touching, they don't start touching here.
Right,
They
yeah.
start touching here.
Yeah.
Okay, because you want to see how does she feel about it.
Yeah.
So if on this approach we get a grumble, we correct it. Okay, we wait a moment, let her decompress. Child comes around here. Here there's another grumble. We correct it, let her decompress. Okay, so the tap is stopping the brain from escalating to the next step. Okay, which was why the healing exercise was so important, because that's what teaches her how it turns on, how it turns off. So then, maybe that's all fine. Then the child goes up at the rear, right? And then you might see her like jump up or something. Yeah. Then we wait a moment. Sorry, late day. So, so when they come to touch at the side, right? You might see her hackles go up. Yeah. You might see her start tensing. She might growl, right? So what I do there is, if the child's already making contact, since I have it all set up and I'm not worried about a potential bite, I keep the hand without moving and I just tap, okay? And I see, what's your next move? So the reason why we don't want to pull the hand away, one, growl means you don't move your hand. Yeah. Correct. But also, you have to keep her in the context in order for her to learn the tap was for the behavior. Okay. And she's thinking, okay, I growled, hand didn't leave. Yeah. And there was a consequence. Now I'm not growling. Hand is still there, but there's no consequence. Okay. Okay. So then, because that's how she processes. So like when we work with our aggression cases, like we have a big old bite suit. I walk in, dog starts attacking. And dog starts attacking, and I have a remote collar, and I start low, 5, 10, 15, I'm just taking my time, 20, dog's attacking, 25, 30, and maybe I hit 95. Then the dog stops attacking me. Then I start to walk around, dog triggers, starts attacking again. I just stand still, let it attack, 95, boom, dog stops, starts to move again, right? So dog goes, hey, this thing that's happening, that's uncomfortable, it's only happening when I put my mouth on you. Yeah. But as soon as I back off and I leave you alone, nothing's happening, right? Yeah. So we're doing a similar thing. Is she technically has to go into the mindset, have it be corrected, and then have the action still happening to learn like, okay, I can't do that with this. Yeah. It's not an option. Okay. So there's 2 ways of going about it. Once we get the touching happening, it's real slow, it's real soft, it's just gentle. We're keeping it all here. Okay. Is you or someone can be also feeding at the same time. Yeah. Okay, so we have counter conditioning. So a lot of people do this, right? Oh, give the dog a treat. Sorry, please. Give the dog a treat, and they'll like you, right? The thing is, it's too slow. Yeah.
I mean, that's what we tried for so long, was like the treats, and it just, she likes treats, but she's not like a dog who's like obsessed with them, and she kind of was just like, great, I get treats, and then I can go back to what I'm doing. Like,
sure. So the reason why this would be different is because, one, you have the collar.
Right, oh yeah, right? Totally, yeah.
But also, if you've been restricting everything, and it's just been kibble, it raises the value of everything else. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of times, like even if a dog doesn't have food drive, because we had a bull terrier come in who did a 4 to 5 week boarding train with us for aggression, and we had to muzzle condition them because they couldn't do it themselves. Yeah. But they were trying to use treats and biscuits, so then we did it using his food, and then within a couple of weeks he was muzzle conditioned, and he didn't care about anything. He was like, all right, whatever. Got every single meal. We did it, I think, like 8 times a day. Because he got 2 cups, and we did quarter, like 8 times a day. So that's what sped up the process. But we removed everything else. Everything, yeah. We're like, you're not going to get anything but your food out of this muzzle. That's it. Yeah. So here, when you go into the counter conditioning with kids, you have more value.
Yeah, it's like you only get, and she loves peanut butter. That's her like thing.
Her thing.
Like you only get peanut butter when like muzzle, collar, and child is around.
Yes, it's a very specific scenario. Yeah. Okay. And as the child's petting, is when she's getting, let's say she's licking the peanut butter.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen those videos where people are saran wrapping their heads.
Yes.
And they put peanut butter, right?
Yeah.
And they're clipping the dog's nails, and the entire time the dog's licking as they're clipping.
Yeah.
And as soon as everything's done, it goes away.
Yeah.
Right? That's how,
We've tried that, I mean, not on our head, but we tried that with like bath stuff. She's not that distracted. But I do think it would help, like you're saying, with all the other things, she might be like, oh, okay, I like peanut butter too, if that's an option.
Sure.
It's not like enough on its own.
Right.
But.
So, we would time, so like if I'm doing individual food, like little treats, right? Mm-hmm. Is people tend to do like, clip the nail treat.
Right.
Clip the nail treat. Like it's very slow. And it really should be treat.
Right.
It's supposed to be really rapid fire.
Yeah.
So as the kid's petting, you're just like, it's just rapid fire, whatever the high value reward is.
Right.
And then we stop with the kid petting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stop the reward.
Okay.
And then the kid goes back to touch again. And then you go back to the feeding.
Okay.
So now we start to get it's called counter conditioning. Fancy term just means like changing the dog's underlying emotional response. Mm-hmm. So then she starts to think, I'm only getting kibble now. Like Ed said, I'm only getting this peanut butter, my favorite thing, when I'm being pet by kids.
Yeah.
Right? And pet by kids when I'm in mom's space.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect to it, okay? Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the dogs are like, this is too stressful,
right.
I don't want the food. Then it's just, we forget about the food, and then we just continue with the exercise.
Yeah.
But she has to try to disagree with the situation so that you can
in order for us to
counter her, and then keep it going, okay? So then as the child's petting, they start to work their way up, and then I start to find, do you have any tense spots?
Yeah.
So like I had a dog, one of the first cases I did, she was very fear aggressive, and she didn't like having her tail touched. So I spent like, I think 2 to 3 classes just touching her tail. And I remember like the owner, the boyfriend, got really pissed because she was just getting remoted for everything. She was exploding. And he's like, "Are you just making my dog worse?" I'm like, "No." I was like, "Just trust me." I was like, "This is her thing, right?"
Yeah.
And so then he was like, "Whatever, right?" We got over that, and then fast forward, to like a summer later or whatever, he shoots me a text. And he says, "I'm so grateful that you did that tail thing now, because some kid just ran up to us and grabbed her tail. And all she did was like lock up."
She didn't like it, but she didn't.
Yeah, she just like locked up, but then was like, okay, because he's like, if it wasn't for that, 'cause he's like, I spent, like I said, 2 to 3 classes on just touching her tail because she hated it that much. And she hated it so much that she even hated it when the owners did it. But she tolerated the owners.
Right.
And this was a completely random kid that just came up and then grabbed her tail. And I said, yeah, like, that's why I did it, because realistically speaking, stupid shit like that does happen.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
So when they're touching, we probe all over the place. We grab the legs, grab the tail, like gently.
Now how, like my niece is 2.5. Mm-hmm. Like.
You would guide.
Okay, like she'll be cooperative, but like she doesn't understand the point of like.
Yes.
Moving slowly up. The dog's, like.
Yeah, so then there could be someone with holding her hand or something.
Okay, like mom's there.
Exactly, to guide the situation. Okay. Because yes, you can have that. Yeah. And then like with older kids. And
Lee's pretty, like she's around like other people in the family have dogs, she's around dogs all the time. And in some ways I think it's really good because she's not, she's a good understanding of dogs and dogs can knock her over and all that, but also being more comfortable. She's not terrible, she's not even going to poke the dog in the face, but it's a kind of a catch-22, right? She's comfortable with them, so it's like, why can't I just pet the dog?
Yes, and when it comes to kids and dogs, I'm very cautious.
Yeah.
And this is something, that you can take to educate others, is that children will apply how they treat their own dogs.
So they don't have a dog.
Okay, or the dogs that they're around.
They'll treat other dogs that way.
Other dogs, correct. So like I had a client, they were telling me the story, and then like right away my mind's just going like, this is terrible. But they're like, oh yeah, our kid used to use our dog as a German Shepherd as a stepping stool to get stuff off the counter.
Oh God. And like it looks cute at home. It's like, it's so cute.
And the dog would tolerate it. The dog was just like, they're like, the dog's, so great and all that stuff. And then fast forward, and the dog, the kid did it to a friend's dog, and it got bit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Yeah, like that's exactly what I would expect, because one, I would have even expected it from your own dog.
Yeah.
You know, and even if it didn't happen for the first year, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen
right
in the next year. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point the dog might go, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
So I always tell everybody, you know, the way you allow your children to either treat the dog within the home or the dogs they come across, whether they're friends' dogs or whatever.
That's how they're going to treat all of them.
Yes. So that's why I like doing this, because it teaches them a very structured way of going about breeding dogs, but also teaching them to always ask for permission.
Yeah.
Because plenty of kids do get bit just for touching dogs that aren't theirs.
Yeah. I
had a client, we had worked on their dog was human aggressive, and it wouldn't go after anybody. Like it was before training. But then I told him, like, your dog's fear aggressive, like if your dog's surprised or anything like that, like it's a response.
Yeah.
But the dog wasn't lunging at people anymore. We had all that fixed. The dog was doing really good. And they're just standing at a red light, you know, waiting for the light to turn green, and someone just came up and started touching the dog.
Yeah,
dog bit him.
That's my worry. Yeah.
Dog bit him.
And it's like you said before, like I can't blame her if like a kid runs up and pulls her tail and she turns and snaps at them. Like I don't want her to do that, but I also like.
Yes.
Like you can't blame them that much. Like I can work on her reaction, but like.
Yes, like so, like with the going back to the one dog with the tail thing, right? Is I did that as a like security measure of like I hope this shit never happens.
Right.
But I'm gonna work on this just in case it does happen.
Do everything we can.
So that ideally nothing pops up.
Right.
You know? So I do a lot of things like that where I go, this is very controlled. I wouldn't really like. I told them, like, I don't care who pets nobody. I don't care that somebody pets your dog's tail or touches it. Just doing this just in case this happens.
Right.
And in their case, it actually did happen.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, you know, let's say it's a random child and you're just minding your business and you're walking, like, I get it if you want to be apologetic. I'm unapologetic, just because they need to learn manners.
Yeah.
Was it with you? It was with somebody where their kids just started running up to us during a training session, and they're like, oh, and I was like, no.
There was a couple, an older man that had a dog that he just basically like brought the dog over while we were
I remember that. Yeah. I had one that I was working with a client, and it was these two kids with a little golden doodle, and I just saw them running across Oz straight to us, and I went, nope. Like, it was very familiar, nope. And they looked at me and like, nope, go. Yeah. And they were just like shocked, you know, that someone told them no, and they just like went around. And then I saw them again at another time, like a week later, and they just ran right past us. They recognized me. They knew who I was. But I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like you can't just assume you can run up with your dog. And I'm like, I don't know where the hell your parents are.
I know.
You know, I was like, where the hell are your parents? You're just running across the strangers with your dog, like at Oz Park, which is huge. So, but yeah, like if I've been rude to kids, you know, I don't scream and yell at them. I'm very firm with them. I'm like, you can't do this because this and this.
And you hope parents would understand, because the alternative is your kid could get bit.
Yeah, you know, and the reason why I'm not polite about it, and this is just my reason behind it, is you're gonna remember a negative experience.
True. Yeah.
You know, so I make it unpleasant in my tone. You know, I'm of course I'm polite, but I'm firm. Yeah. You know, and I want some discomfort. So the kid goes like, man, I don't want to get scolded again.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I've learned just throughout the years that unfortunately people will, even adults, will blow past polite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, please don't, like, you know, like my dog, and then they're like,
no, it's fine. Yeah.
I'm like, it happens. So just being blunt and, you know, straightforward, it catches people off guard.
My husband needs to hear this. He's the nice one. I'm the one who's like, she doesn't like dogs.
I'll do a PSA for him.
Yeah.
Yes. I understand, you know, being polite, you know.
And it's hard, we love dogs. So like we want to, you know, so I get it. It is difficult, but I'm totally with you on this. I would much rather like be cautious and make sure that my nieces are good with dogs and all that, then be polite and, you know, try and just be overly nice and apologetic, because that was my worst nightmare if she bit a kid. Yes. I would be horrified. And
then guess who pays for it?
Yeah.
Right? We have the dog, we have the child.
Yeah.
And I've had plenty of experiences where dog bit child, dog is put down.
Yeah, I would be.
dog bit child is now scarred for life.
Yeah.
It's very psychologically traumatic for children to be bit. So that's why I'm like extra cautious, and I'm like, you know, muzzles, all this stuff. And I came up with this exercise because I was like, this puts me at most
control.
Most control, makes the owners feel really good. Works for big dogs, works for small dogs. Not so great on the knees, but that's okay. Because of that stuff. Yeah. Okay. So whenever I talk about these things, I have 10 years of just horror stories. Yeah. And just, you know, people trying to be apologetic and people bypassing it, and it blows up, and then this person is now mad at them. Yeah. And they're like, but I was trying to tell you.
Yeah, and I don't want it to be like, you know, we can't go like Thanksgiving because... Yeah.
So, if that ever happens, okay, when you're walking with Luna and stuff, don't be afraid to be blunt. Yeah. Okay? Because again, we remember those negative experiences, right? People are more likely to leave a negative review than they are a positive review.
Yeah. I work in restaurants.
Yeah, so, you know, so again, we're not trying to be mean because they don't know. Yeah. Right? But me being a little bit blunt with you right now will hopefully keep you safe from being bit from another dog in the future. That's how I view it. Yeah. Okay. So, any questions so far?
No, I don't think so.
So go ahead and take Miss Luna over here.
Do I need the,
No, you'll be fine. Okay. Yeah. So I just want you to show me how you would hold her for a child. Yes. And what you would do here is with your right hand, you want to actually hug about right there, okay? So there's less leverage, and then you want it to be nice and relaxed, okay? So you're not trying to squeeze her towards you because that will, of course, create tension. Okay. So when the child is approaching, you're listening, you're feeling for Luna. Sometimes you can get like a little guttural growl, you feel it in the chest and everything like that. We would tap, I don't say anything, it's just remote. Let the dog take the hit and process. If she settles, then we move to the next step, which is the kid comes over here. Okay, and like you can see, like right now she's just curious, right? But like if I was a child and I had like some kind of energy to me, that looking is a little bit of concern, like what's going on here, right? There's a little clip on her ear there.
Yeah, we don't know what that is. She had that when we got her.
And then you know they go to the hindquarters here.
And that's okay. She's just kind of curious.
Correct, right? So then here, but you can see how I got her attention, right? Now you see how you with your hand though. Did you see what you did?
I pulled.
You went back, right? So that's why having it short and being close is good, because I don't want you to be holding her back, because then you're creating...
it's just, if she does move, it'll stop her.
Yes, right? It's just there in case it happens. So when the people go to touch, and when I'm watching for her, like here...
And I shouldn't be petting her. I'm petting her.
Right, okay. Go to reposition.
Sit.
Okay. Just in case.
Yeah. Sit. You didn't like that, huh?
Okay. So you can see how she licked her lip here. Right.
What does that mean?
Licking lips means I'm not comfortable with what's happening right now. Okay. Now it's nothing good or bad. It's communication, right? So earlier, you're gonna lift her back up again. So earlier, let's see if she does it again. She was panting, okay? So it's nice that she's panting from the start, because the panting lets you know she's relaxed in venting stress, okay? So here she's got closed mouth again. There we go. Okay.
And she's pretty quick to shake. I don't know if you
Sure, yeah. The shaking is normal. Just keep exposing her, right? But now she's got the panting going, which she was doing earlier. So we're gonna watch here. She's panting, or she was panting. Let's see if she does it again. There you go. So as the child's petting her, what I would expect is that mouth closes. Okay. That mouth closing is telling you I'm uncomfortable with what's happening.
Okay. Like the panting is like I'm uncomfortable, but I'm handling it by panting. When she stops panting, it's like I'm even more uncomfortable.
Correct, right? And that's what I would call an on-the-fence behavior.
Like just be more alert. Don't do anything, but be aware that she's changed what she's doing.
Correct. The lip, so the closed mouth is tension. The lip licking is I'm uncomfortable with what's happening right now. And then as the child's petting, if you saw as they're petting, like let's say you weren't using food and she went back to open mouth, that means I was relaxed, something happened that I didn't like, and then I'm letting it go now.
Okay. So like panting, stops panting, panting again, that's in the good direction.
Correct. Okay. So ideally, like let's say in the beginning when the child or the children are petting her, you notice she always closes her mouth. Every single time.
Yeah, actually, now that you're saying it, I'm like, there's lots of times where she does do that, and it's kind of like she's focusing almost.
Correct. So they could be like 20 reps before you find, or even more, before you see she like opens her mouth, closes it, and then opens again. Okay. Okay. In the beginning, I'm gonna expect that she's gonna have that closed mouth, and then it may escalate from like closed mouth, the lip lick is, or into the growl or whatever. That's when the child would stop, and then you would correct. Wait a moment, and then continue. Okay. Correct. Okay. Now, if you tap her when she growls, and she escalates, that's where having this comes into play. Because I'll usually have the remote here, the leash here, hand here, and if I tap and the dog goes right, like it blows up, whatever, I can just contain and tap a couple of times to de-escalate, be relaxed. When she gives me, panting again or whatever, or looks ready, then I come back in again.
Luckily she has it with the collar. The only reaction we've really gotten out of her is like a little bit of a yelp and a jump. Sure. Then she kind of keeps moving. Sure. So so far she has not been like escalated because of it. Sure. She just is like yelps, and sometimes she kind of like looks, but then she just keeps going. Sure.
So like, I don't think she would escalate.
But she might, I have no idea. Yeah.
But you might see that where she's like, I want to get away from this. Right. Okay? Right. And then you have to contain her, and then you would do slow to now counter her flight mode, because she goes from like, I'm uncomfortable, tap, I want to get out of here. So then you have to correct that as well. Okay. And what you're teaching her is running away is not an option.
Like you have to stay here. This is what we're doing right now.
Correct. Now, flight or avoidance is good. So like if a child was coming up to her and she had the capacity to, you would want her to walk away. Yeah. Because she's going...
Definitely over like biting or growling.
Exactly, right? We don't ever want any kind of forward response, like lunging, barking,
but like coming like hiding or whatever.
Moving away or leaving the situation is better because it's avoiding conflict. Okay? When she has the space to. Yeah. Now in this here, because it's very controlled context, and you're trying to teach her, like, you have to get over this.
And like, I'm in control of other things. Like, this is what we're doing.
Correct. That's why we don't want flight response or whatever, okay? So we're not getting rid of it completely. Right, we're just getting rid of it in this moment.
Because if she's in the backyard or whatever, she should just walk away if that's what she wants.
Yes. And if, like, let's say she were to be loose, right, and like, this is just as an example, and like, there's one of the kids, and like, it's one of the children that she will like, doesn't like, is as the child's approaching, if you see her like blocking on or like kind of holding her ground, you would tap there and she should disengage. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. Because for her, if she views them as puppies, she's not going to be afraid to stand up to a puppy.
Because the locking on thing, 100%, like especially for like sitting and eating dinner, she'll like park herself like right next to me and just watch those kids. And if they make one step towards me, she's ready to like go.
So what she's doing there is she's technically claiming you, right, and then guarding you as well. Yeah. So one way to work around that would be to have her away from you and like she's on her bed. Okay, because if she's on her bed, technically she has nothing to protect. Okay. We've tried it, I mean, we haven't tried it now that we've had like keeping her in place. We've tried it before, like Mike being somewhere else with her, but it doesn't work. But I think her being on her bed and she can't leave and I'm in control will be better. Yes. And it's, when you talk about I'm in control, that's very key. So like, it's like you telling her what to do and not Mike telling her what to do. Yeah. That makes sense? Yeah. Because she will differentiate like when I'm under your command and when I'm under your command. Yeah. Okay? Because of course the problem area is with this the relation between you and her. Okay? So like when I get couples where the dog will guard one from the other. Oh yeah, so when we first got her, we almost had to take her back because she would like bite Mike if he
was anywhere near
you
when he got home at night. Yeah.
Sure.
And we just did the treat thing where she got like so many treats at night, and eventually she
got warmed up to him.
Yeah.
So he earned her trust essentially, right?
Yeah.
And then plus he's around a whole lot.
Right.
That it allowed her to. It's much like, let's say, like you had kids.
Yeah.
It would be easier for her to get over your kids than other kids.
Okay, because they're around so often.
They're around 24/7.
We do worry about that too. I mean, we don't have kids now, but like if we do, that's another thing with getting her used to kids is like, we don't want that to be a problem.
Correct. And so like I actually just had a call yesterday with a client whose dog was very human and dog aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked through a lot of that stuff, and they had a baby. Baby's 3 months now. And they were like super like worried, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's okay. Just let me know if anything happens.
Okay.
And he's been great with the baby.
Okay.
The reason why we had the call is because he's too excited about the baby.
Yeah, I've heard that's actually, we had one other trainer before, and she was like, likely if you have a kid, she'll be like so attached to the kid, that's a problem.
Yeah. And it can go so many ways. I had a client, the dog started guarding the baby from them.
Oh my God.
I had a client where the dog never had any issues, was a very social, balanced dog, and then all of a sudden developed separation anxiety from the baby.
Oh.
You know, dogs that become very territorial over the home, dogs that just don't care. Like it
Yeah.
can go, and there's no, like, for instance, that one dog, human and dog aggressive, like bad. Like he bit a few people up by the age of 5 months when I came in.
Wow.
He was a pup, and loved the baby.
Yeah.
Right? Like you wouldn't think that.
Right.
Have other people, dog no issues, aggressive to the baby.
Ugh.
Okay, so there's no. I don't.
You have no idea. You have no guess. You have no guess. You have to wait and see.
What I always tell everybody is, if there's tension in the beginning, it's usually when the baby starts crawling and the baby starts walking. Is when the dogs start to show tension.
Because the dogs, it's something they can't control or like guess about.
Yeah, well, it's like, okay, we were cool, but now you move.
Right.
Okay, and so it's super common.
Yeah.
So my whole thing with people is I always tell them, there's no rush for the baby and dog to interact. The baby don't know.
Right.
Right? The baby's not self-aware. Yeah. I usually wait until the child understands the concept of gentle before I start having them interact. Unless like the owner feels fully confident in the dog's comfort with the child. Because that's the main thing. How does the dog feel about the baby?
Yeah.
Right? But then I tell them, like, just remember, your dog may like your baby, but dogs also correct their puppies. Yeah. And if the baby does something that the dog doesn't like, it's not aggression. Yeah. It's a correction. And it's not going to translate well, you know, because dogs bite their puppies, we don't bite our babies. Right. So that's where things get really nuanced. Yeah. Okay? So, but yeah, I mean, I've had people whose dogs didn't like other kids, but are completely fine with theirs. And it's because of that, the whole like...
They're there all the time.
Exactly.
That's all I know.
Okay? So that I wouldn't be too worried about.
Okay.
But definitely you can take steps in the right direction by pressing her now, exposing her, you know, when you get a chance to. And of course, with these really controlled exercises, allows you to push her out of her comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Now, the tricky part, okay, would be maybe she ends up liking kids, right? Mm-hmm. And she comes out of her shell. But she doesn't like them when she's next to you. Yeah. Okay, that can still be a thing. Yeah. Because you give her something to guard, you give her something to protect. Mm-hmm. Okay? So when it comes to stuff like that, it's like, it's controlled in a sense where you're like, okay, you want to pet her? Sure. So when you set up this scenario, she'll know, like, all right, mom wants this to happen, so I don't have a choice but to accept it. But if you're sitting down at a bench with Luna beside you, and one of the kids that has pet her 100 times, and it's not been a problem, and she's actually warmed up to, but then it's a problem in that moment. Okay. Because at that moment, when you're sitting on the bench and Luna's at your feet, you're in a moment, you're in a context, right? That's completely different than when you're crouched down, sitting next to her, saying this is going to happen. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, questions so far?
I don't think so.
It's all about what I call mindset or headspace. So, did I ever give you my CTA train analogy?
I don't think so.
Have you been on a CTA train?
Yeah. Okay. Many times. I mean, not recently, but...
Yeah. So they can get crowded.
Yeah.
So let's say you're sitting on the CTA train and there's only 3 empty seats and one happens to be beside you. And if someone sits down, Does that bother you?
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of, but
yeah.
like...
I mean, I'm not like, how dare you?
Right, but like you understand. There's only 3 seats, one's here,
yeah.
right? Now let's put you on a train, and there's 95% of them are empty,
right.
and there's one empty one beside you, and someone sits next to you.
Oh yeah, it's like, what are you doing, weirdo? Like,
Yeah, right?
Get me out of here, this is dangerous.
That's headspace.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same thing for Luna here. Okay, so when I'm in a moment with a dog, when something's happening, if I know the dog's personality type, I can already go into headspace and think like them. So that's why I was saying, like, if you're on the bench with her at your feet, that's kind of like that empty train.
Yeah.
Right? This is your time.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of space. Why is this kid coming up to me?
Exactly. Like, but when you start to do the control exercise, now in the headspace of like, oh, mom's in control right now.
Right.
Child is coming. This is happening. Okay. I may not like it, but I'm going to accept it.
Yeah.
Okay. And just think of little things like that. Mm-hmm. It'll help you better understand her.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like training Luna. Like she's not broken.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have a broken dog, okay? You have a dog that's just attached to you.
Yeah. And
instinctually, she's thinking like, you're my person.
Yeah.
And I protect my person,
yeah.
okay? But it's just not
absolutely,
needed.
that's the problem, yeah.
yeah, you know, so she's not doing anything wrong. It just doesn't translate well in the human world. Because if she was doing that, like, amongst other dogs, it's just like that's just what they do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But people see it as like, oh, like your dog's aggressive, or your dog has problems. I'm like, no, that's just a dog being a dog.
Right.
Okay. So, for your homework.
Yep. Muzzle.
Muzzle, muzzle, muzzle.
Yep.
And then if you have a chance to expose her, playgrounds and stuff, just to get a feel for like how does she feel about these energies now, you know?
Especially since the weather's been kind of nice.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nice for a couple of days still. Just go by, see how she does, you know? And then don't, you know, if she's at a playground, you can close the gap a bit. Yeah. Get her fairly close to see, is there a threshold where you feel uncomfortable? And then just focus on the muzzle stuff, okay? Yeah. Any questions?
Maybe you might be in this, but so the next training, should we try and be able to have our niece, like the 2.5-year-old, come with us?
So.
Or no, we're not there, or no, that's not.
No, you would be there.
Yeah. Muzzle,
but that's the problem.
Oh, yeah, the muzzle, yeah.
So, because I don't predict that she's going to be okay with the muzzle in a week. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, but we could push off the next training,
give
us a couple weeks, get used to her. My sister-in-law is out of town, and the girl's at her parents' house for the next week or two. Yes. So just schedule it.
Yes.
Maybe schedule it a couple weeks out, and we'll get on the muzzle. We will today. She'll get dinner out of that. And then see where we are like a week out as far as the muzzle with her.
Give it a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And don't be surprised if she's still not fine with it. Okay. Okay. That's why whenever I deal with anything like this, even during the consults, I tell people like start the conditioning now because it's going to take time.
Yeah, we failed on this one. Yeah. We really did all the others, but
everybody does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Just let Maria know.
Okay.
And then she'll just push it out.
Okay.
So then the next one, you know, we can plan for having a child and stuff. You do need that muzzle thing down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then don't be surprised if you do the muzzle conditioning and she seems fine, and then we add in the child and all of a sudden it's a problem. Now, once that happens, we're kind of forced to use force conditioning. Yeah. But you've already done a bunch of work that it should be easier. Yeah. Okay. And then
I'm honestly surprised she even let me put those up onto her face when you brought those out, because when we tried it home, she's like.
And what I do is, well, you're going to be in the conditioning phase, but I usually like I'll have the dog here, and I'll flip it over like this. People tend to approach it like this.
Oh, I see. So just she can't see it. And
just boop, or even from the side like this will help. But if you're doing the conditioning stuff, you don't even have to worry about that. Okay. Just remember, it might be a bit before she actually eats. Okay. Okay. If you're going to be super strict about it, and then I would definitely start limiting all the food and stuff.
Yeah, she's like getting a ton of treats anyway, so that's.